My man, how you
No.
be, bro?
Good. How about you?
Good, thank you. Okay. Well, she's still going every Saturday night. Still going every Saturday night. Yeah. I'm in charge of this now? Where you going? Oh, yeah, I got the audio. I should get logged in. Oh, I can't take the best.
No, no. Now what is this on? Really? Okay. Really? I only say that because the common law. They do a lot of common law down there, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Representing themselves, basically. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, which one are you? Yeah, you can't be both. Yeah. That's interesting. I'll have to look that up. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll look it up. My dad always told me the old saying goes, if you represent yourself, you have a fool for a client. Yeah. 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 Oh, that's, and I'm sure that drives the judge. So, do they know they're being picked on? Does the judge know, I guess? Okay. I have never heard of that. I'll have to tell my dad about that too. I will. Okay. I'm good. Thank you though. Appreciate you asking.
Oh, this one Thursday. Really?
You've just come in. You may want to go ahead and find a seat. If everybody can come on in and get a seat, we're going to try to go ahead and get started. No, wait. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can anybody hear me? Well, yeah, but he one of the weeks he was off. He was only doing the Daniel stuff. If everybody can come on in and get seated, we'll try to get started. Otherwise, we're going to wind up holding y'all a little bit long, and I know you really would rather not do that. When we first started looking at this particular series, I don't know, 2 months ago, I guess, Rhett, something like that. We were so happy that Mark was going to take a lot of stuff with Daniel and kind of kick things off and talking about Christianity in Babylon. And you may wonder how some of these other topics are thrown in. Well, this kind of comes out of a book. And one of the things in the book that is focused on is our connection and what all is going on with Islam. And when we planned this out, all of the things that are going on with Iran were not on the screen, needless to say. So things have changed a little bit. We decided to go ahead and to do this lesson this week. There will actually be 2 lessons. Part 2 will be on, is it April 8th? Yeah, in there, because we've got some other things planned in there. I asked Scott Tillman to work with me on this, and we kind of developed some of this stuff together going through here, and I really expected you to come out with the big long robes and be a sheik or something.
If I knew that I was going to be a part of this, I would have waited to shave my beard off, but I did not know. So, one of the things I think we have to start, we really have to consider and to realize is there are extremists in Christianity, and there are extremists in the Muslim faith as well. And a lot of times we have mindsets that are developed from fear instead of knowledge. And one thing that I think we have to do, and what we really want to try to do, is give a background, some information where fear isn't our motivating factor, where we can learn some things. And Mike, you and Rita had life experience about this, which was really kind of cool.
Well, it's interesting. Most of y'all know that several years back, Prince and Munya came into our lives, and they came from Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh is a country, if you don't know where it is right next to India. It is 50% Hindu and 48% Muslim, and they came from a Muslim family. Don't have time to go into all the back story about it all. But it was kind of interesting because when we first agreed for them to come over here, and I've lost Rita. Where is Rita?
Front row, Mike.
Oh.
Front row.
I was looking back there, But when we first agreed to take them, what did you, their mother is named Badranesha, what did you tell Badranesha? Or what was y'all's conversation? Short.
Basically, I just had to say, we're people of Christian faith, and I know you are not, and her response was, I have a question for you. Do you think we believe in the same God, or do you think we believe in different gods? And we were actually emailing, and I said, but Paternoster, that's a very difficult question to answer by email. But let me answer it this way. Let me tell you about my awesome God. That was the end of the story.
I hope you heard that.
Bottom line is she could go on for another 2 hours, okay? Talking about the God that you and I know, that we believe in, versus the God that Muslims believe in. And needless to say, it was interesting while they were here. The two kids were very scared of us, which we found out that they knew much about us as we know about them, which is everything is off the news media. And while we think oftentimes of terrorists, do you know what they think of? Bombs dropping out of the sky, friends getting killed. And so we found out that, we both had some misconceptions. So part of what we decided about going through is we're going to talk about Islam, and we're going to probably scare some of you. Some of you are going to be startled about similarities and differences. And we're going to try to go through that a little bit.
Now, before you jump into that, which we're about to, Prince and Munya, the two children that stayed with him for a long time, they graduate this year. And Mike and Rita are going to their graduation. They still have a great relationship with them. And we'll say they're not Christians yet.
But when we talk to them, oftentimes, how many times do one of them say, "Will you pray for me?" I mean, they have come so far from where they started. Their mother, when they moved back to Bangladesh, they were getting threats again, which is why they came here. And it turned out that it was from some of their family that are Muslim. And their mom said, "Why is it that people that we know, that our family, are treating us as outcasts, but yet people like you that don't really know us and have any vested interest in it, why is it that y'all treat us like you do, that you're taking care of us?" And Rita basically said, "Because that's what we do." And you'll see there's a tremendous difference in the teachings and the base philosophy in the religions. Now we're going to talk about a number of things. We're going to try to kick things off a little bit right here, because one of the things is we always talk about religions of the world, and this is from back in 2020. The numbers have changed, and I think that Sager has thrown some numbers out from the pulpit recently, and some of the things that he is doing that you hear on Sunday morning. They're going to be a little different than this, but you can get the idea that the United States right now is 64% Christian. Now, that includes both Catholics and Protestants. There are more Catholics than there are Protestants in the United States, just like there are worldwide. But I want you to take a look at the percentage in the top 10 countries. Okay, where does the United States fall percentage-wise? Right there. Yeah, near the bottom. It's not good.
When Mike and I were going through this, we said it's one thing to give a percentage of people who proclaim to be Christian. We would like to know the real true percentage of how many are actually, active Christians. Because we think there's a large percentage of people that say, "Yeah, I'm a Christian, I believe like my parents believe," but aren't actively pursuing a Christian life per se. And it is disheartening when you look at this list, and how many of you have noticed this, that Sundays no longer are sacred in our world. And now anything and everything seems to be available. And I think that is a direct reflection that we have a lot of people that say, yes, I'm a Christian, but maybe don't practice it fully.
All right, this is Christianity throughout the world right here. Let's look at the major world religions, okay? And what you see is there's more Christians than there are anything else in the world, but not by a lot. Okay, Islam, which we're going to be talking about tonight, is just a couple 100 million behind. Hinduism is down there about half as many. Buddhism, folk religions which get into ancestry and things of that nature. You can find this in a lot of the islands and throughout Africa, things of that nature. You drop down to Judaism, and there's only 14 or 15 million, which is not an awful lot worldwide. Unaffiliated, okay? This is that none, that you see, you can check. Look at the percentage of that right now. That's 16%. In the U.S., that used to be 1 to 3. Now it's kind of right at that number, 16.
Yeah, and again, going back to that original statement we just made a few minutes ago is, how many of those are really actively pursuing the religion that they proclaim? And it may be not the same as here in the United States. You went to Africa, and how many people were lined up at a worship service to hear you speak?
Well, they weren't there to hear me speak, I guarantee you that.
I mean,
but it was amazing. One night we had over 7,000 people there. You want to know something that's interesting? You saw what's up there. Do you know how many members of the Church of Christ there are in Nigeria? There's 8 million members of the Church of Christ. You know how many there are in the United States? Somewhere around 2/3 of that. It is amazing. We are losing the battle here at home.
Well, what was it? It was said, and I can't remember if it was our friend from India or someone else that said, Americans used to send missionaries to us, and now we feel like it's our responsibility to send missionaries to them. I think that's a real eye-opening statement of where we are.
When Daniel went over in Babylon, he was in amongst all the people that believed unlike what he did. He had a few friends, that were there. Well, it's amazing. He was kind of that first missionary. He's a missionary who went out there. You know what you've got to do to be a missionary today? Knock on your neighbor's door. I mean, we see so many of the various religions right here that are here in our city, that are here in our neighborhoods, that are moving in right now, here and about. So, what do you know about Islam? You ever stopped and think what you really know? And what about the beliefs? Do we know all their beliefs? I don't know all their beliefs. I've learned an awful lot more in the few weeks I've been working on this.
Yeah.
What about the foundation? I mean, we all know about the foundation of Christianity. What about the foundation of Islam?
Mike, before you go to the third point, enunciate. Okay, go ahead.
Scott Tillman.
No,
is that better?
The third point. Make sure you enunciate.
All right.
Because
so
as we were talking about
earlier, when our kids, and I don't remember which one of them, were over at Lipscomb in middle school or high school, and they had a new math that came in. 6 in math. That's not what I heard. Okay. So that's where he's getting at right here.
Uh-huh.
All right. What about the main groups? Okay, inside Christianity, how many different groups are there that call themselves Christians? Just in the United States. Any idea? Was it over 3,000? Over 3,000. Okay. I know we're splintering.
Yeah, how many churches of Christ, different churches of Christ are there?
It is really amazing. Well, there's quite a few. Now, the good thing for you and I is there's 2 main ones that comprise about 98%. So we can narrow things real down in Islam a little bit. What about the similarities and the differences? We probably know most of the differences. Mm-hmm. What about the similarities?
Yeah, and I think we want to start with the origin. What is the origin of at least what a Muslim would say is the origin of their faith. And so Mike wanted to give a little quiz tonight.
Well, Tillman Sunday gave you a 14 question
I
quiz?
did, yes.
We only got 5 questions.
Yes.
Okay, so it's all you got to do is score 5 and you got 100.
Okay.
Okay? You can do this, okay? We'll see how much you know. Okay, first, who was the founder of Islam? Abu Bakr, Muhammad, Ishmael, or Abraham? Now, stop and think. What do you know about that? All of these, okay, have got origins in Islam. You're going, no, not possible. Well, the answer basically, I'm saying basically, is Muhammad, okay? We'll get into why and all, but he lived in roughly 600 AD, late 500s, early 600 AD. Now, he traces his lineage back to Ishmael. We'll talk about Ishmael and Isaac and Abraham in a little while. And let me tell you something, you're going to find out something about what the Muslims think about Abraham in here. Now, Abu Bakr threw him in there because when Muhammad got all of his revelations in a cave from the angel Gabriel, according to their teachings, he didn't write anything down. In fact, he didn't write anything down about what he believed the entire time. So the first imam, or whatever they call him, I can't pronounce it. Yeah, some of y'all had it right. Anyway, he, wound up and going back and putting everything down that Muhammad said. And so that's how they wound up with the Quran. Okay, number 2. What does the Quran state about Jesus? Okay, he was a radical, misguided prophet. He was the Son of God. He was the Messiah born of a virgin, or he is not mentioned in the Quran.
Now, Mike, when I gave a 14-question quiz on Sunday, it literally was just verses from 1 Corinthians 13.
Do you want me to pull all these from the Quran for you?
No. But you do have a trick. This is a little bit of a trick question.
This is a little bit of a trick question, okay? Because, you know something? While they think he was a little bit misguided, okay, they don't talk about him being radical or anything. He's actually mentioned in the Quran, I think it's 14 times, okay? And they do not believe that he's the Son of God. We'll get into that in a minute. You know what's amazing? You know what's the most truth in this? They believe that he was the Messiah and born of a virgin.
Now, see, I would object to that right away because of what I view the Messiah to be, right? But they had, so semantics is all about word studies, right? And what you believe a word means. Now, we all know that the Messiah was the Son of God, right? We all know that the Messiah was who the Jewish nation waited on, but did even the Jews misunderstand what the Messiah would be? Didn't the Jews believe that the Messiah would be this ruling king that was a feared warrior, much like David, that the rest of the nations in the world would fear, that they would overthrow Rome and kick them out of the occupation? They were misguided too. And the only reason we understand the Messiah to be Jesus Christ is because we have God's Word and understand that God in flesh came to this earth.
And you're going to see that we'll go on to the next it'll be, I think, question 4. We'll get into this.
Okay.
All right, now to be an Arab and to be identified as an Arab is based upon what? Your culture, your language, or your religion, Islam?
You know, I grew up in North Alabama, and we were in Marshall County, and we played
Arab,
Alabama. They were the Arabian Nights. I couldn't stand those guys. They were cheaters.
It was their culture and their language that was different, right?
Oh, man. I still don't like them. I'll just be honest with you.
Now, the reason we bring this up is because almost when you think about Islam, where do you think? Middle East. Over there, okay? Well, let me tell you, an Arab is kind of like being an American. Okay, or from a Caucasian background. Okay, so we have some misconceptions right there. What percent of Muslims are Arab? Now you missed this first time we were going through this, didn't you?
But again, I thought it's Arab, so it's okay.
Okay, I got you. All right, only 20% of Muslims are Arabs. Okay. Which is amazing, because we think that's what all of them are. Which of the following do Muslims believe? Do they believe in the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible? Do they believe in Psalms? Do they believe in the gospel revealed to Jesus? Or do they believe in the Quran?
Again,
it's a little bit of a trick question. All right, they definitely believe in A, B, and D, and they believe in what they call the gospel, or a message given to Jesus. Okay, they believe in a good news given to Jesus, which is different than the good news about Jesus. Now, they will say they'll talk about the gospel given to Jesus.
You know, I think that there's a really important point to be made is we need to continue to be people of the book. But how many people in our world, in our society, want to claim that our Bible, God's breath, His Word is, how many people claim that it's fallible? Mm-hmm. And so, one thing we have to be careful of is pointing fingers, because we're following into some of those same as a society. And that's why we have to continue to stand up and go, no, it's infallible. This is the breath of God. He's given us exactly what He wants us to have, to know who He is and the unbelievable grace and mercy that He's given us.
And when we see this right here, you get back to the question, remember, the Badernesha, the kid's mom asked Rita, do we believe in the same God? And it's not an easy yes or no. Now, you got to realize Allah is the Arab word, okay, for God. Hardly any of us use any of the Jewish words for God. Okay, you want to?
So that one's one that's really tricky, because the first thing I want to do is, no way do we believe in the same God, but they do believe in a single God, and that there's a single Creator. And Allah means God.
God. That's right.
So I think instead of us having, what we have to learn to do is how to use that as leverage into talking. I think it's really what we're trying to talk about.
And we've really got to watch out about that, because especially if you will talk to some people from other religious backgrounds, and you start getting semantics on words, and it seems like that some other religions kind of swipe some of the words and offices that we've got for people inside the church, and we have trouble with that. Terrell.
Concept of God that we do.
We will get into that. Okay, our second part. Okay, is not until April 8th. I'm sorry, that's the way our scheduling works. We're going to get a whole lot more into that in the second part. Right now, we're building up to it. Okay, that's not an easy answer. Okay. There is. Bottom line, there's a bottom line answer to it. Yeah.
My experience is better answering the question. We just ask yes or.
We're going to show a video in the next one, okay, which is a converted Muslim, and he talks about how to reach out to Muslims from the Christian point of view. And bottom line is if you just go in and answer that question, you're going to turn them off immediately.
So let me.
I think they would be very quick to tell you, well, we believe in the same God, the Father, God of Abraham. Maybe I'm wrong.
It depends on how you term the question. It's not, like I say, it's not just a yes or no. We'll get into this, and I don't think we'll quite get into it tonight. But you got to remember, who is God? Who is what? I am. The Creator. What? God of the Bible. What else? Okay. What else? Okay. Keep going. What makes up? Do not have a Trinity? do not have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit? Now, when we look at who God is, we got to bring all those into it, and that's where we get into some major differences.
Yeah, I do think there's.
I'm wondering what David, I'd really like to know what Rita's friend would say. Explain to her.
They let them come to America and live with us. Okay, they went to church with us. They went to Lipscomb to school. Right there, they've got questions about their Muslim faith now.
Necessarily quick to try to tell you that we believe in the same. That's all.
It is a very difficult question to answer because their concept is different than ours. Both. Both. You got to realize when you think about God, what do you think about? Do you think about the Godhead? Okay? That's not how they think.
Terrell, I want to bring you back to Mars Hill for a second. And I think the best way for us to think about this and as we go further is, when the Apostle Paul comes into Athens, what's the thing that he first speaks to these people that are thinking about deity? What does he say? Hey, you got a statue down there, and one of the most amazing moments of my life was sitting on a rock on Mars Hill and looking down and going, that's probably where it was right there. And he goes, you got a statue there to an unknown God. Can I tell you about him? And that's exactly what we're trying to get at with this as well, is let us tell you about him. You believe in one God. We do too. Let me tell you about him. And so that we'll get into that more really with a mindset.
Yeah, because we're not skipping over things, but let's kind of talk through some of this. Let's look at population. When we look at Muslim by population. Now this is by percentage. If you can't read the little numbers down there, but the very dark green is 90 to 100%, and you can see. Look at all of northern Africa. People ask me all the time, how are things in Nigeria? And let me tell you, Nigeria is almost right where it makes the bottom crook right there. And notice the bottom part of Nigeria is Christian. The northern part, you can't tell the boundaries of the countries right there. The northern half is Muslim. Let me tell you, it's two different groups going on right there. And if you hear the majority of the stuff you're going to hear about with problems with people being kidnapped, schools going in and robbing all the children out of them and so forth, the vast majority of that is in the northern half. Now the problem is we say, oh, that's against Christians. It's against Muslims and anybody else there also. Those people up there are fanatics, okay? We're going to be talking about that towards the end, okay? But you get an idea of where the majority, percentage-wise, of Muslims are. So let's get back to the foundation, okay, of Islam. Talk about Muhammad. I don't know how much any of you know about Muhammad. Some of you may think you know an awful lot. Some of you may think, well, I don't know. Let's talk about this. Roughly, the latter part, 570 to 632 A.D. Now, he was an Arab, okay? Remember, Arab is, the region right through there. That was his background, okay, where he was. And he was a religious, military, and political leader. Now, let me say that again. He was a religious, a military, and a political leader. Okay, he wasn't just somebody that was a religious person that we would think about, but you're going to see that Islam is an overarching type of religion that covers a number of things beyond what you and I would call religion. He is recognized by Muslims as the final prophet. Okay, and I think you need to hear that. They recognize him as the final prophet. Okay, not that we've got anything past the Bible that we know, where we have got Jesus, then we've got the apostles and the church being started there. They run it on another 600 years. Okay? He received revelations from the angel Gabriel. Where else do we run across Gabriel? Excuse me, where do we run across Gabriel? Not where else.
I mean,
look at this, okay? We're gonna see, and I know that you've talked about that. I missed some of your classes. Sorry, I was traveling and all right there. But and that's how he received the messages that were later turned and recorded into the Quran.
Supposedly, again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've read so much lately on their
Right.
stuff, I got to stop talking like them, don't I?
Right.
All right, he transformed the Arabian society by preaching strict monotheism, okay? One God, okay? Do you have a problem with us talking about one God? Hopefully not. Okay, you start seeing where we have a little bit of concern about what do we think. All right, he united a lot of Islamic tribes and so forth. As a religious, political, and military leader, he promoted social reforms and led many campaigns. You know how many military campaigns he led? Ruth and I listened to this. What was it? 147? 147, okay, different campaigns right there. So he got a lot of things going. Now, what happened was the Arab groups, okay, were kind of leaderless. Okay, you got to remember we're talking about what is today kind of Saudi Arabia. All right. This is where Muhammad lived, where he grew up, where Islam began. Now, what you've got right there is basically in the light yellow is Saudi Arabia today. Okay. Amazing. That's where it seemed like a lot of stuff is going on right now. Now, Mecca, which is over there on the west coast, over there close to the Red Sea, okay, that is where Muhammad grew up. Okay. Many of you probably have heard that a Muslim is supposed to travel to Mecca once in their lifetime. Well, that's where they're supposed to go. Well, why do they go there? We'll get that. I can't pronounce the name of that thing, but there's a reason they go there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is where we're talking about, okay, of where things began. Now, how do we get from Muhammad back to any kind of where things started, where things diverged?
It's always interesting to me when we try to help God. You know what I'm talking about? What I mean, like, we look at God's promises and we don't really want to rely on His timeline, so we'll try to do things to help Him. And so Abraham and Sarah had an idea of how she's going to help God fulfill promises that He made to Abraham. And of course, what was the promise? What was the promise that God made to Abraham? You're going to have as many descendants as the stars of the skies. Well, if you live in Nashville, you're like, that's not that many. But if you, because you have light pollution, right? But if you, I got to go to Tuba City on a mission trip 20 years ago, and we went out 20 miles in the foot canyons of the Grand Canyon, and there was zero light pollution. And it was amazing that from as far to the right to my left was covered with stars. And I didn't even know you could do this, where I could see satellites, and I could count satellites as they were orbiting. And I counted 9 different satellites that orbit and then I was like, wait a minute. That's the promise. That's the promise. And so many times we get impatient with God, and we said, surely He means for us to be actively doing something with this promise He's given us. And so what did Sarah do?
Hey, I've got a handmaid over here. I'm getting kind of old. Why don't you have a child by her?
Seriously, how did Abraham respond to that thought? I mean, like, he had to be kind of careful, didn't he? I mean, like, there's no way. I mean, he was really stuck in really between the rock and a hard place here, Because here your wife comes to you and says, God's made this promise to you and really to me, and I have this handmaid, and I would like for you and her to have a child. You want us to what? What do you do here? Well, somehow they think this is a good idea. But again, be careful to judge, because how many times do we become impatient with the promises of God and think that we need to help God along the way too?
Now, what's interesting, okay? Hagar becomes pregnant. Sarah has second thoughts. Yeah, let's get rid of her. Okay, so they pack.
Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. This was never going to be a good idea or work well.
And so while Hagar is out in the desert, she receives a prophecy, or God says, "Listen, this child that you're going to have, he's going to be," and this is Genesis 16:12, the second one up here. "He'll be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him. He will live in hostility toward all of his brothers." Now, when we talk about trying to go over and to solve things in the Middle East, what are we trying to do? This is almost 4,000 years ago. Okay, what we're talking about started 4,000 years ago. Okay, so anyway, he's born, and was that the child of promise?
Of course not. And you guys know he wasn't the child of promise. But what were some of the problems that were really established with trying to help God? What was some of the emotions that probably Sarah felt that we know she experienced? Jealousy. Jealousy's not, been a big problem in our world, in our society, or in the history of humanity, has it? I mean, wow. And we see that for some reason, it doesn't let up. That jealousy is like wave on wave on wave, and it continues. Now, if we were going into the psychology tonight, we would start asking the question, the nurture versus nature, because what we would ask is, was Ishmael becoming this wild donkey of a man because of his genetic makeup, having his mother Hagar, or did he become this wild donkey of a man by the influence of having his mother and his father's wife constantly at odds with each other, and the jealousy and the bickering that stemmed? That's what we would say in the psychology field. I will tell you this. The unhealthiness of this definitely had an effect not only on that tribe, but it has an effect on human history from that point on.
All right, moving on a little bit so we can try to get through this piece so we can get to part two.
Okay. Okay, well, don't give me the mic then.
You need to have a mic drop moment when you stop, okay? All right, so most of us know the story. Ishmael starts to make fun, I'll use that in loose terms, of Isaac. Sarah says, all right, that's it, you got to get rid of them. They leave, and Abraham gives them some water and food. They run out of water. Okay, this is in Genesis 21. They run out of water, and God appears to her, and she has a spring pop up right there. Now, let me step over to the Islamic side. Do you know where that happened? According to them, that happened in Mecca. Now, distance-wise, where Abraham was at this time is not too far from there. That supposedly happened in Mecca. Guess where their pilgrimage goes back to? This particular area right there, okay? That's where they say all this happened. So you want to know a little bit about some of the thoughts and all, why they think some of these areas are important? Why do they believe Genesis right here? Well, up through Abraham, we believe in the same God. Okay? Up through Abraham, we believe in the same God. Now, this is where the split starts. Okay, this is where the split starts. And so we've got to kind of see some of this. Now, they will say that Muhammad is a direct descendant of Ishmael. That'll then, that way, they'll get going all the way back to creation. Now, they're missing 1,200 years in there, so they just kind of throw in Arabic leaders of various groups. But anyway, they'll admit that right there. You look up here about the connection with Ishmael and Muhammad through here, and you'll get this. And I've thrown some of the Quran. They don't keep up with book, chapter, and verse the way that we do. They go through some of this stuff anyway. But there's your references to all of this. And one of the things you got to get to is the very last one up there, is that. The Muslim, and through the Quran, states that Muhammad was the final prophet. He was the final messenger of Allah. Okay? And what do all of them, you've heard this if you've ever watched a movie that's had any Muslims or Arabs in it that have any kind of thing where they're talking about their faith. What do they say? Well, they'll say that too. Thank you there. But they'll say there is one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. Okay, and that comes from this section right here in 33, what we would call verse 12. But it comes from that right there. Okay, so you want to know where some of the foundations for that is. We kind of got through some of the backgrounds. Next time we're going to start talking about what do Muslims believe. Where does that agree and disagree with Christianity? Because let me tell you, there's some things in here that are very similar. That's why it is hard to say yes and no if you know the whole story. And if you want to try to reach out and try to convert Muslims, Sager has talked about trying to work with Muslims on the Lipscomb campus, and it is a different deal. Mark, I don't know if you've ever tried to do it. When Prince and Munya were here, I had a smoking ministry, okay? I would smoke every kind of meat you can imagine, and let me tell you, one of these days, I'm going to get Prince right there. He wants that barbecue. He wants it so bad, okay? One of these days, right there. But if you're talking to anybody, you got to start with the foundation. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, what's the foundation? All right, let's believe in the Bible. If you believe in the Bible, I believe in the Bible. Let's go back to the Bible.
So I would say it's really important for us to understand origin. And for us to even be able to go into a conversation, if we don't know the story of Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael, and Sarah and Isaac, can we even begin the conversation?
And what's amazing is one of these, I'm not sure how many of these we'll pull up and show next time, but one of these Muslim fellows says Christians like to start at the wrong place to try to talk and convert a Muslim. Says you don't start with your differences, start with your agreements. Start with things that you've got in common. Let me tell you, you're going to be surprised. We've got a lot of commonality. I've already mentioned they believe in Jesus. Now, not the way that we understand that Jesus is the Son of God, that He died, that He was buried, that He was raised. They don't believe in it. They don't believe in all that. They believe all that's corrupted. We'll get into that more. But you start where they are. And if you start where they are, then hopefully you can get them to what the Bible teaches.
Do we have a clip that you want to show of the video? We're going to show that next time?
We're going to show it next time.
Well, so like if we were giving you homework, of course we'd be like, hey, it's time to go back and let's look in Genesis and do a hard look at how God made promises to Abraham, how sometimes we don't rely enough on God's promises. How many of us struggle with trying to take care of it ourselves in the first place? And man, guilty. I'm guilty. Instead of going and having a real prayer life to say, I have full confidence in your plan and your timeline. And if we could ever get to the place where God has called us to be, with fully trusting in His plan and His timeline, what we will see is we're going to live this life to the fullest. And we won't corrupt not only ourselves, but those that follow us in generations to come. We're excited about this study, but we want you to jump into it too.
Hopefully you have enjoyed this. Hopefully it's expanding your horizons a little bit. I know just going back and delving into this more, I've learned more than what I thought I knew by a long shot. Before we leave, Hansi and Elizabeth are back with us tonight. All right.
Not just tonight. Not just
here.
tonight.
Y'all have moved back, right? All right.
You know,
Fantastic.
Hansi, this lesson was for you. I mean, you decided you wanted to, put it in your own hands, but look what God has brought you back. God has brought you back. We're so excited.
We're so excited. Mark, do you have next week? No. Who's got next week? Cole. You're supposed to stand up. I do. All right. So sounds good. We're beginning to rotate through a few people that'll be doing this. I know you got one or two more still coming up. So looking forward to it. We'll see y'all again next time.
Blessings on your week.